grew up in a very Chinese environment, but I'm trained in French cooking. This was an expression of the melding of the two things that I know.
It breaks, it bends, it stretches, it doesn't go back. It's nice.
So a lot of people say, oh, the library is books and only books. Like, how do you still exist? If there's Google and there's Amazon, why go to the library?
We work with really the poorest families in the world that don't have shelters. The magnitude of the problem that we face is so big. It's about 1 billion people that don't have one of life's most basic human needs, and that's safe shelter. What we really need for the size of the issue is exponential growth, and that has to come through significantly decreasing costs, increasing speed, while doing that without sacrificing quality.
So I'm standing in front of the first permitted 3D printed home in America. This house is actually printed in high winds, blowing dust, and rain. The end goal for this printer is to print houses in the developing world with unpredictable infrastructures and circumstances. We sort of dove right into the deep end of the pool and proved that we can do this outside of the lab. I believe this isn't just an interesting little cool improvement in construction. This is a complete paradigm shift that has unbelievable advantages in speed, affordability, resiliency, sustainability, waste reduction, you name it. We ran this printer at about 1/4 speed to print this house, and we were able to complete the house in less than 48 hours of print time, which means if we ran it at half speed, we would be under 24 hours, and if we ran it at full speed, we would be under 12 hours.
Instead of it taking about 1 year to build a community, we could do it in just a few months. Traditional style, one of new-story homes is about $6,500 per home. Right? We believe over time we can get the new home below $4,000.
The material we used to print this house is actually one of our biggest breakthroughs. It's a very specialized cementitious mortar concrete compound. You come up with the secret sauce, the secret concrete, I guess, and that's what makes this possible. We are very committed to site printing because we think that's ultimately what has to happen to achieve the affordability and speed breakthroughs that are a promise of 3D printing. The printer is made of lightweight aluminum, so it's very easy to move around. 2 people can set it up and move it. It's easier with 4, of course, but it can be done with 2 people. So it's very lightweight, very transportable. In order to create the number of houses that need to be created for the developing world, or even if we just think about getting as many new custom homes in America created on this kind of platform, there need to be hundreds of printers in the world. That is not as technically challenging as it sounds. It's actually a lot more simple to build a printer than it is to build a house. Bringing housing to the poor and underserved of the world, usually those are the last people to get advanced technologies and advanced materials, and it's awesome that we're starting there first.
We're very proud of what's been created. Obviously it can be better. This is version 1. But the next step is actually going to El Salvador with the 3D home printer, printing our first set of homes there, learning from those, and then the end goal is printing our first community of homes in history. We do not focus on temporary shelters. We focus on homes that people can build their lives on and that can have a generational impact. And what's so exciting about 3D home printing is that that promise is there.
We collect the bags. So we started a newsletter and we said, hey, we're collecting your Walmart, grocery, Wegmans bags. And then what the ladies are doing behind me is they're taking those bags, they're separating them out into colors so that we can make a white mat, a gray mat, a brown mat, a blue mat, whatever other colors we may get also. And then they take the bags, they flatten them out 4 to a stack, and then we cut off the seams, we cut off the handles, and then we cut strips so they're continuous loops. And then we loop them together, and we make a long string of yarn. That's $30 right there. It's nice.
I think it's absolutely amazing to be able to help people. There's a lot of people who have addiction problems that live on the streets, people who don't want to accept help, and this is our way of providing it for them to hopefully make things a little bit better for them, especially with the cold weather, being on the cold ground, that creates illness and sickness in the homeless, and hopefully this will keep them off the elements on the ground. They're lightweight, and we thought we would have enough bags to make one mat, and it's grown into something a lot bigger than that. All of the members here, the men and the women, would bring bags day after day after day for about 6 months before we actually started making the mats. And then they continued to bring the bags, and they're continuing to bring the bags. So it's been very heartwarming as to what we've been able to do for the community through this project.
It's like rolling dough.
The library of the 21st century has to have a few things that are crucial. Spaces in which people can get together to work either collaboratively or as individuals. It needs to be inspiring. It needs to offer dignity. It needs to offer comfort. It needs to offer natural light. It needs to offer everyone who comes into the building the sense that that they're in a place that respects them and encourages them to do whatever they're here to do, whether it's work on a resume or get in from the cold or participate in a kids program. It's really just a community anchor. The library service model has been evolving for the last maybe 15 or 20 years, where books, frankly, just become part of the universe of services. The fact that libraries in the States now concentrate on offering programs for children, a relentless number of programs, and places where people can meet, and technology that is both ubiquitous, it's everywhere in the building, oftentimes it's invisible, so you've got strong Wi-Fi signals. The library in the United States has become more of a sort of a community education hub, as opposed to just the place that we remember maybe as children, where you would just go and it would just all be books, and you'd grab the book and you would leave, or you would sit down. So it's much more about people as opposed to things.
If you look around, you see people having conversation, working together. We no longer, that's not a thing we do anymore. We encourage people to interact with one another. We encourage people to engage. We're really more of a common area than a silent reading place. We have 5 little rooms that you can get for free that are totally silent, so you can read by yourself if that's what you want, but the bulk of the building is not that. We are more than just a place to get books. We are a place to do whatever you need in the community.
I've been cooking professionally since I was 16. It's all I've ever done. So I felt like I've been, building up to this.
My name is Tim Ma. I'm the chef and owner of Kirasan, Water and Wall, and Chase the Submarine. So we specialize here at Kirasan in Chinese French cuisine. I grew up in a very Chinese environment, but I'm trained in French cooking. This was an expression of the melding of the two things that I know. For sure, a lot of attention is paid on a scallop dish that we do here. We simply wanted to match basil and coconut. And we got to this point where we're like, well, let's just do something off the wall and see what happens. And we're like, well, what if we take something cold and melt it in something hot, and that infuses the flavor by mixing it in, and that's where we landed with ice cream. the response was good. Just started steamrolling from there, and that's one of our more popular dishes. When I get home, I don't want to cook. You know, open the mac and cheese box and dump it in with some milk and butter, and it's done. I don't like to cook outside of the restaurant, which is actually surprising to a lot of people. I also think that's true of a lot of chefs. You know, I get all my cooking out of me while I'm here. I do believe that I'm creative as a chef, but I also think that a lot of our success up to this point has been through just sheer hard work. I think in this country, you can create your own success just by working hard, not because you're smarter than anybody, not because you're more creative than anybody, just by working hard. And I think that's why a lot of people end up coming to America.
Other independent chefs were referring customers to me. I started doing that back to them and kind of thought there's got to be an easier way to do this, but more than just one or two. So building this infrastructure where someone contacts me because they want a dinner next Tuesday and I'm booked, I built a Facebook page for the members. So we're in a Facebook group where I can just post and say, next Wednesday, a customer wants to do a dinner, here's their price range, here's where they live. If anyone's maybe interested, send me a personal message and I'll get you their info.
I think that it was a grand idea. Chris is on to something. It's a wonderful feeling because I've been cooking for quite some time and it's a real competitive field, but the alliance that's being formed is a lot of camaraderie, a lot of openness, and a lot of sharing.
Chefs doing things like that, or I think a lot of chefs say work in an Italian restaurant and then they get really obsessed with Mexican cuisine and you can't kind of cook that or do that. Restaurant business is so hard, not that owning your own business is easy, but having the flexibility to say, okay, it's Valentine's Day, it's more important for me to be home with my wife than to be at work cooking for someone. Those are decisions I can make. It's free. I'm not charging members anything. I wanted to just build the infrastructure that we could help each other because I spent 7 years building my business having no idea what I was doing, and I want to help someone out. If anyone comes to me and says, I want to be a personal chef, what would you do? I'll lay it all out for them. There's no secrets. I'll show you what I did. I'll say, this market has been good for me. This is where I buy my china. You should talk to this shop owner because they have really cool vinegars and oils.
We like to share our knowledge of olive oil and vinegar, so I think it allows us to share with the chefs, and hopefully they'll come in and visit us. And then also we can get a lot of recipes from them also, and then share it with the community also. So it's a win-win situation for both of us.
Well, they bring connections. They bring a variety of talents and gifts. They bring creative ideas and just the whole network of independent people joining together. So it's a big community.
I would just love to see benefits, see that everyone's kind of getting the benefit that I'm hoping that they're going to get, that it converts to more jobs, or I really want to get together and do fun events. That's part of it. I came from running a business that had over 100 employees reporting to me, and now I have 0.
Chris is really very outspoken and outgoing, and he's willing to take a lot of risks and get out there and meet a lot of people and network. I think the biggest hurdle for a lot of chefs is that they don't really form an alliance because they're all kind of competing with each other, but you don't have that in this group.
I've been cooking professionally since I was 16. It's all I've ever done. So I felt like I've been, building up to this. And I just wanted to be able to do something that I felt was fulfilling.
I mean, that part in there is edible. Right there is a perfectly edible. Now, the question, Keith, is Can you imagine a brewing, a fermentation approach to bamboo shoots?
They're pretty tender as they are, but
Yeah.
it would be interesting to sort of imagine this sort of tart, crunchy, not unlike pickled carrots or other sort of shoots.
I imagine it'd be quite mild and quite nice. I mean, and there's just a ton of bamboo, and this is listed as an invasive by the state of Texas. Our particular project, Invasive Spirits, is looking at nature in the city and our experiences of nature in urban spaces. So the project that we've been pursuing at Harvard, at MetaLab, has been about taking those invasive species, taking samples of microorganisms that live naturally in the environments all around us, and using, traditional peer production, collaborative practices in brewing and fermentation and the culinary arts. We brought it to South by Southwest because even though it's a practice that is about foraging and indeed pulling weeds in the city, there's a technological dimension in that many of the practices, the virtues of work in the digital age, peer production, the sense of a commons, these have deep roots in traditional practices like brewing and fermentation.
I think we're going to hand out some materials that we've been gathering here from some of the kind of weedy edges of South by Southwest. I just want to ask you not to eat any of these things. Some of them may be hallucinogenic, in fact. In any case, I will tell you that these are all invasive as identified by the state of Texas. We've been trying to get at this question of who belongs and who doesn't, and how can we get along through our senses. And one of the chief ways in which we've been exploring that has been through brewing.
We wouldn't necessarily go down there and forage and prepare a meal out of something that is so visibly entangled and run off from the city, because we're conscious at least of the accumulation of toxins and things. But it's curious to point out that we would be comfortable going to a grocery store and purchasing a conventional form of produce that we know in fact has accumulated herbicides and pesticides and fungicides.
Even if we didn't want to ingest these berries, they're covered with a sort of cuticle, which is probably fungal,
Yeah. We're actually going to take them back to Boston with us and do some sort of collaborative brew and capturing some of the essence and some of the energy of South by Southwest. Let's go brew some beer.
A very good writer. God has gifted him with amazing talents.
처음에 이제 그런 거를 시각장애인과 일을 해본 적이 없는 사람들이라 그 코퍼 파이낸스 쪽에서 일을 하시는 분들하고 얘기를 할 때는 굉장히 이게 그 감이 안 잡히는 거죠. 이분들이 자기네들은 다 이렇게 그 읽으면서 자료를 눈으로 읽고 훑고 그래프를 보고 그렇게 일을 하잖아요. 그러니까 상상이 안 가는 거예요, 그분들이. 너 어떻게 이런 일을 하려고 그러냐.
기차 안에서 너무 덥지.
바깥에 이제 볼게요.
일찍 와.
일찍은 뭐다?
일찍 와.
오늘 저기 펑션이 있어.
진짜?
7살 때 망막박리가 와서 그 복합적인 이유로 수술도 많이 해봤지만 결국은 9살 때, 만 9살 때 시력을 다 잃었어요. 그러니까
SK and I have worked together for 14 years now. I think he's very professional, very well spoken, a very good writer, excellent in mathematics and analyzing. God has gifted him with amazing talents.
피아노를 친다는 것 때문에 그 외국 선교사님 눈에 띄어서 미국에 14살 되기 조금 전에 그 미국에 이제 그 펀드레이싱 투어를 왔어요. 기적처럼 느껴졌고 4년 동안 고등학교 공부하면서 그 집에 살았고 진짜 부모님처럼 대했고 그분도 저를 자식처럼 대해주시고 지금도 그래요. 6,400명 학생? 시각장애인이 3명인가 갈 거가 없었어요.
아니 뭐 살려면 살 수 있는데.
지금 결혼한 지 21년째가 됐는데 저는 거의 되어 있는 사람, 완성된 사람을 만난 거거든요. 이렇게 진짜 이 사람이 장애인인가 하는 정도를 잘 못 느꼈어요. 그러다가 가끔가다 저도 잊어버려서 여보 뭐 저기 빨간색 갖고 와 이렇게 부탁을 할 정도로
아 그만. 클린 앞에. 아우 너무 지저분하다 여기. 오빠 뭐 좀 먹을래? 귤 먹을래?
야나 미니스트리는 그 YNA가 You are not alone의 앞글자를 딴 거예요. 그래서 야나, 그 You are not alone, 혼자가 아니다. 우리 한국에 있는 소외된 아이들에게, 가난한 아이들에게, 또 부모가 없는 아이들이나 부모한테 버림받은 아이들에게 혼자가 아니다라는 메시지를 전하고 싶어서 저희가 같이 시작된 단체인데요.
저희는 그렇게 대화를 하거든요. 그러니까 그게 아니고요. 주인이 없는 거예요.
엄마 핸드폰 잊어버렸어. 어떡하지? 들어가자. 아니 그 사람들 여기 다 있어? 예배 드렸어?
유학의 그런 그 목적도 있지만 이 보육원 아이들을 데리고 와서 일반 가정에서 호스팅을 하면서 그 가정에서 그 성장하는 그런 그 기회를 주는 거죠.
This is Wall Street.
미국이란 나라가 참 희한한 나라예요. 외국에서 와서 한 사람이 노력, 그다음에 기회, 어느 정도까지의 그런 그 사회에 진출을 할 수 있고 어느 정도 삶을 꾸려갈 수 있는 그 기회가 공평하게 있는 나라가 드문 것 같아요. 그 불공평함을 줄여가면서 더 좀 공평한 쪽으로 다가갈 수 있는 그런 기회가 누구한테나 주어지는 나라인 것 같아요.